Welcome to Home Gym History. On this episode, I have Brandon Copeland, otherwise known as Midwest Kong. I had the distinct opportunity and pleasure of meeting him at last year's Home Gym Con after seeing him bench press 225 pounds, just a ridiculous amount, like 70 plus reps. It was insane. If you haven't seen that, there are plenty of videos of it on just about everybody's highlight reel from Home Gym Con last year. And he has an event this Friday in Columbus, Ohio for the Arnold weekend at Pros Gym Columbus called Jungle Wars. I'm aware of Jungle Wars because of talking with CT Fletcher, but you need to know about Jungle Wars because it's Legends Night, as he's dubbed it, and he's going to have some of strength history's best legends there in person at Jungle Wars 3, which is a liftoff. We'll talk all about it, and we'll talk about how those legends affected his life and what that kind of strength history means to him on this episode of Home Gym History. All right, Brandon, better known as Midwest Kong, welcome to the show.
Good. How you doing? Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I'm great. It's good to talk to you. It's been a while since Home Gym Con last year, and I had a chance.
What was that? That was March or April?
April. It was early April last year. Yeah, quick,
yep.
Right after the Arnold. So this year, Jake spaced it out some, so it's the end of April this year.
Okay. Same place?
Same place, French Lick, Indiana. Yeah, beautiful French Lick.
Always gotta add the home of Larry Bird.
That's right.
Always gotta add that.
Oh, I was watching Winning Time, the HBO show.
Love it.
When they got the Larry Bird's hometown, I was like, there it is, French Lick.
Yeah.
Like, we're doing this.
I was praying that Netflix would buy that. That was a great show.
I was sad. Show. I couldn't believe it came to an end after 2 seasons. But yeah, who knows?
Yeah, I think from what I read, the Lakers, they had a documentary coming on Hulu. So they kind of wanted to, but Netflix should pick that up. That was a great show.
Loved it. If anyone hasn't seen it, you got to get in on it. It's
a
great
good watch.
Yeah, I learned a lot. So Jungle Wars, in the lead up to bringing you on the show, I've been seeing more and more posts coming out, more and more people that might be dropping in. So for listeners that don't know, can you just give a little rundown? What's Jungle Wars?
So Jungle Wars is a branch off of what CT Fletcher does, Iron Wars. So originally the idea came from, it was probably back last March, actually. Right after, interesting enough, after the Arnolds, I met the owner of the American Fit Expo, which is now our business partner in Houston.
Okay.
He came to see me do a exhibition lift at this gym in Houston called Mo City Fitness. And it was me versus 4 trainers. So basically what happened was we did a lift and deadlift, or a bench and deadlift party. What happened was there are 4 trainers. They all burned out at 225 till fail, and then I was to challenge the number that they got total. That day they got 75, and I got 77 that day.
Nice.
And the owner of the American Fit Expo, he came up, he said, "Hey man, I didn't believe somebody actually can do it that many times, raw. What do you think about doing some at my expo?" So that's how we talked about it. And to be honest with you, man, I'll be 44 in June. I spent a lot of time lifting the wrong way growing up. So I kind of got things going on with my body because I didn't really think we didn't have the resources back then. We didn't have the Instagram or the access to certain things, certain world-renowned trainers and all of that we can, deal with now.
Sure,
I was going up to Flex magazine, whatever Flex Wheeler had or Sergio Olivier or Big Vic Richards had in the book. I was doing, didn't necessarily read it, just did the diagram, right?
You just pick up a magazine and look at what you got.
So, which wasn't the smartest thing to do. So I kind of banged up, and then I spent, time. I spent 11 years doing competitive mixed martial arts, also being a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt and competitor. This is my 19th year. And my body just, I knew getting into this industry, what would happen was I would have to learn business. And that is exactly what I did off the gate. I said, "Hey, look, dude, this benching is cool, but I would like to learn business." So we came up with to host an event. And I said, well, if I do that, then it's going to have CT involved. And we came up with Jungle Wars in the honor of Iron Wars. Jungle Wars is pretty much the same thing. We do body weight bench for reps, 225 rep offs. And this year we're going to do at Pro Gym our charity lift for our nonprofit, Sons of a Beast, which is 135
Nice.
as many times as you can. We're going to have a little fun with that,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
yeah. And invite guests out, guest lifters or,
Yeah.
guest people just to come out and have a good time. And this would be the third one. The first one was in Houston. It was great.
Yeah.
Second one was in Tampa. It was a good time. And this one is huge because it's the first one in Ohio, which is where I'm from. So I'm pretty excited about
That's
that.
awesome. Yeah, Arnold weekend, March 1st, Friday, Pros Gym. So
Yeah.
yeah, I mean it's about a week and a half from
Yeah.
now. So it's closing in, and it seems like every other day I see another post from you with something else,
Oh,
someone else
so I'm trying
stopping
to
by.
stretch it out. I'm trying to stretch it out, man, and give you suspense. I
That's
got
good.
pretty much everybody,
Yeah,
but it's
yeah,
a couple guys hitting me like, hey,
yeah,
I want one of them cool videos. I'm like, dude, you got to say you're in before I do that.
yeah. Exactly.
So, yeah.
It's got to be 100%.
Yes, sir.
I understand. There's times that, like, even with my podcast, I'll put out like hey, what do you want me to ask this person? But I don't do that unless it's 100%.
Yeah, it was 100% sure, right.
Yeah, I understand that. So, I mean, I love strength history. That's the whole purpose of this
Yeah.
podcast. So I love hearing about your background, and I got some more questions to pepper you with. But to stick with Jungle Wars for a second, it really is kind of like a Legends Night shaping up here. I mean, you
Man.
got Mike O'Hearn, Patrick
Yeah.
Moore, Flex Wheeler. I
Black
mean,
Wheeler.
of course, CT. So, I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah,
goodness gracious.
yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I got right out of the gate. I know you have, some personal history with Flex Wheeler. Like when you were a kid, you
Yeah.
said in your post you really looked up to him. So, yeah,
Mhm.
can you speak to that a little bit? The kind of the influence Flex Wheeler had on you?
So Flex, like I said back, being 43, we didn't have the resource as far as, it wasn't even many gyms around my city. So we used to work out in the basement and my grandmother's basement, but I never had, never knew what actually bodybuilding was. Of course, you growing up, you seen Conan the Barbarian,
Yeah.
Arnold Schwarzenegger. You see all that. You know who Arnold is. Arnold was like the only bodybuilder in the world, right? When I was growing up. Like nobody else bodybuilt but Arnold and Lou Ferrigno, because
Yeah.
Lou Ferrigno played the Hulk. So being a comic book fan growing up, like that's all we knew. So I was getting ready to, ironically enough, get a Incredible Hulk magazine. I'm
Nice.
sorry, comic book. And I remember Flex magazine was put, or I'm saying Flex, but I can't remember which one it was. It was one of the weeder ones back in the day.
Yeah.
And I remember it was in the space where I used to get, was allowed to get the comic books. And on the front of the cover was Sergio Olivier Sr. And it said, bodybuilding's biggest biceps. So I'm like, and I'm probably at the time, I'm like 11 or 12, 92, whatever.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, bodybuilding. Like that dude's a bodybuilder? So, I grab it, I open it, Big Vic Richards in that book, and Flex Wheeler.
Nice.
And the reason why I was so drawn to Flex Wheeler in that particular magazine was because growing up, of course, you want a big chest and big arms, at least we did. And he had bicep and tricep exercises and chest exercises, right? And I was like, oh, man, I got to get it. So I just instantly gravitated to Flex Wheeler. And those three, Big Vic Richards, who wasn't even a professional. He was just a freak. And then Sergio Olivier Sr. Yeah. And then it came back to time, man. I just got on Instagram. I've only been on social media 2 years.
Yeah.
Consistently trying, I never really tried for this. I mean, we can get into how I got into it, but Flex Wheeler reached out to me, man. I probably had like 8,000 followers, right? Because again, I didn't chase popularity. I chased network and business,
Sure.
building relationships, right? And I've always wanted to be, I was a younger dude, I was trying to hang out with the older guys. So all of these guys now I have access to. I can actually DM these guys or say someone they post and hopefully they'll recognize or, respond back. So with the Flex Wheelers, Dexter Jackson, even out of bodybuilding, Chef Rush, all of these guys are the older guys I network with, and some of these guys I've looked up to when I started learning the sport of bodybuilding. I never was a bodybuilder myself, but I did admire the sport. So when Flex hit me up and hit me with his phone number, and I'm like, oh shoot, like this Flex Wheeler.
Yeah.
And man, since then, the best part about our relationship, and it's the same with CT, is that we can have a conversation on the phone that has nothing to do with the industry or business. And I think those are the most important things when it comes to building these relationships, because the transparency that we share with each other, and for someone of what I thought was just a poster on the wall,
Yeah.
a magazine that I would go to make sure he was in that magazine before I cut the grass to make sure I was able to buy the next one.
Yeah, exactly.
It became somebody way bigger than that in my life. And the advice that has nothing to do, again, he gave me a lot of business advice, but the things that I talk about, mental health and things like that, the things that he's been through and how he's able to relate to the guy who was only 12 years old mimicking his workouts. You can't even write that in a Disney movie.
No.
So
It hits
yeah,
home with me because I'm about the same age as you. So I'll be
yeah,
43 this spring. And
yeah.
so that was right around the time I was like late high school, early college, when Flex and Ronnie Coleman were back and forth, and like
Oh yeah.
at
Them was,
Olympia.
whew.
So like every magazine, it
Yeah,
was one of those guys, and Jay Cutler, one of those guys, like every
yeah.
magazine cover, it seemed like. So even if you weren't reading those magazines, you just saw them. Like they were constantly every,
Constantly
time you,
everywhere.
yeah, passing them
Great
by.
guys too. All three. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm close with Flex, but Ronnie and Jay, both great dudes, man.
Yeah. Yeah.
Great dudes.
Well, I love that they're still present. So they're still
Yeah,
putting knowledge out there and just having fun, it looks like.
having fun. Exactly. Yeah.
Yep. And that's the two things, I don't want to blow too many rainbows and puppy dogs your way and kiss your butt, but the two things that, I like about your Instagram, if anyone doesn't follow you, you're missing out, would be your humor. When I hear
Oh,
certain music going, I know something's
you
coming.
know
I'm like, I know, I hear the music and I'm like, okay, what are we doing today? Like,
that's funny. Yeah.
what's on the
Yeah. People
schedule? Oh, yeah,
funny.
right
People
away.
say that all the time. Yeah, man. It came down. So it's a part of me that when I was growing up, man, my mother worked, so I used to be at my grandmother's house till she got off work. But we had such a big family, like all the grandkids would be over there. My mother got 7 brothers and sisters, so
Wow, man.
I'm around the middle range, right?
Sure.
So I was the clown, and my grandfather used to always call me famous. So now again, that's a gift and a curse because you can actually clown too much.
Sure.
But it was always the imagination, and I'll never forget a conversation my grandfather had with me. My grandfather Al, he passed away of cancer about 2006, I believe,
Okay.
and he was in the hospital. And sometimes when you got cancer, because right now my father is battling cancer right now, and
Sorry to hear
sometimes
that.
uh, you just don't want to deal with it no more. And
Yeah.
it's not giving up to what we used to think it was. It's pretty much the fight. Like, man, look, I've had my time, and y'all gonna be okay, right? So my
Mm.
grandfather, he told me, he said, "Hey, man, listen, don't you ever die in no factory," because he worked until he was like third stage 4 cancer. He was a foreman at a GM plant,
Wow.
and he just told me that was the last time he spoke to me. He's like, "Don't ever die
Mm.
in no factory," and I just always have an ambition to do other stuff. Now, when growing up, obviously, I had it. Grew up in the neighborhood, but my grandmother and my mother did not play. Never wanted for anything. We didn't have everything, but I never struggled for anything, right?
Hmm.
But circumstances, man. We had circumstances, and I ran with the gang members, and I did certain things. But one thing was for certain was it was always a structure. I always knew the worst butt whooping you're gonna take is this one here. So I kind of
Yeah.
tiptoed around the lines of a lot of things, man. But I used to be
Oh,
pretty
hold on a
rough.
sec.
Used to look at certain things, and then I got
You just froze up. So if
seen
you
a
can
lot of
hear me,
things that
just
traumatized me.
hold on
So
one quick
now
sec here.
I never want people to look at me in a way that they can't approach me. And
Man.
especially in 2004, I was stabbed 9 times and I was almost murdered. And
Oh, no.
one of the best things about this industry is that when people see you it's being seen for me. Because every time somebody says good to see you, and I'm like, hey, It's good to be seen. Good to see you too, because it was a time where that almost didn't happen. You know, I was stabbed literally 9 times, and that kind of changed the circumstances and the frequency of my life at the time. But walking around and being comfortable and having people come to you and say, not what you live, but the humor and the positivity, and it's not fake. Because there's days I'll get on and do live videos and I'll talk and say, hey, man, I ripped somebody's head off today, so let's laugh. Somebody tell me something. I'm very transparent. But the humor comes from, I don't have to be mad all the time. I can actually laugh, and hopefully I can say something silly enough for somebody else to laugh. So if I can sit there and come up with dumb things to say that's going to make a couple people laugh, then I think we're doing a good job, because there was a time that I just walked around always looking what trouble was next. So
I'm going to be honest with you. My internet just kind of got a little sketchy there, so I might have missed a little bit, but I got the sentiment there at the end that, you know, the structure of things and coming back to it.
Yeah.
And you know, I think I said there was 2 things that I really liked about your Instagram account and your post. The first would be the humor, but then the second thing is the way you're speaking right now. So I like the way you spell things out, and that could be just the way that you're posting some tips about whatever, something on the bench, or doing how to do a proper row or something like that in the gym. But it could also be just some strength history. Like you posted a little rundown on Julius Maddox and like who is irregular strength. But that was good strength history. That was a good bio. I'm like, man, I'm going to get Midwest Kong to come over to my account and post some strength history. So what where does that where do you think that originates from? Does that come from your childhood in terms of being able to tell a good story, from being that middle kind of range of age, like you're saying?
Mm-hmm. Man, you know, to be honest, man, it's always so. I also, you know, public speaker. You know, I had started a thing called I Stopped the Bully back in 2011, and I went around to speak. I've never took public speaking classes, nothing, and I went from that to getting paid to speak at big events. I don't know. I literally just, you know, I'm literally just am super comfortable on or off camera. And one thing that I was always taught was to, you know, be able to present yourself well and articulate your words, you know. So regardless of what my circumstances was or where I hung out or who I hung out with, when it's time to be presentable, you need to make sure you're professional at best. So even if you don't know what the hell you're talking about, you better sound like you do.
Sure.
So my grandfather Bobby was a deacon at a church, but he also did a lot of preaching. So I used to stay with him during the summers. I used to go to vocational Bible school with him all the time. And my grandfather and me were super similar. Everybody knew him. He talked to everybody, and he spoke extremely well. Vietnam vet, you know, hardcore old Southern guy. Yeah. But he spoke. Everybody knew him. Everybody spoke to him, and that's one of the most amazing human beings, men, that I've ever been around in my life. So when I grew up mentally, that's who I started to want to emulate. Yeah. Was I wanted the respect that everybody had for him, the love that everybody had for him. I wanted to give that same vibe off. Like I wanted to have that same impact on people. It could be somebody who just got out of prison. It could be somebody who was a drug addict. They all loved and respected my grandfather. Yeah. And he did well by him just with his presence and sometimes conversation.
Yeah, I mean, I like the way you just phrased that too, when you grew up mentally, because that's one of the posts you just put up recently about Sons of Beast had to do with like mental health. And so what's the aim of that nonprofit that you got started up?
So that originally started with just a video. Okay. Me and CT, when the Jungle Wars idea came about, me and CT said, hey, son, you know, I'm ready. Well, you talk CT, you know how you do. He said, hey, son, man, I'm ready to get back. I said, what you mean? He said, let's hit the internet. Let's hit it hard. All right, what you want to do? He said, let's do a video. I said, all right, I got you. I said, let's do something. Let's promote the American Fit Expo, Jungle Wars. So originally it started when it was just supposed to be me and him. And I was like, man, we got to bring the hitters in. We got to bring the hitters in. So I promise you, this is how this worked. I was asleep one night, woke up 4 a.m, went to get something to drink, went to use the restroom, and I literally said to myself, sons of a beast. Sons of a beast. And I said, dang, why did I even, this is, and CT will confirm this. I text him, hey, Pops called me. I did obviously 3 hours behind. I text him like noon that day. Man, when you get up and moving, I need you to call me. And he called me, he said, what's up, son? I said, sons of a beast, Pops. He said, man, I like that. So it just came. And I said, let's do this video, right? I said, we should do a hardcore video. Let's promote it. He said, who you got? I said, man, I'm going to call Julius and TD because they was going to come and be a part of the Jungle Wars. He said, all right, cool. And that's how it happened. Well, then we get to L.A. Larry Wills come meet us out. I said, hey, Larry, what you doing tomorrow? He said, nothing. What's up? I said, you want to shoot a video with CT? He said, yeah, what time? I said, okay, well, 1 o'clock. Larry, the first guy there. Yeah. And I don't know if you've seen the video, man, and I'm not saying this because it's us, but, man, that was a really, really good video. And we kind of literally, we shot it for 3 hours, all chest, by the way, all benching, shot it for 3 hours. And afterwards, we kind of sitting there. Now, we got me. I'm just a rep guy. But then you have TD Smash, 3-time world champions, the youngest 700 presser, also the only person in history to press 700 in a full meet, deadlift and squat. Then you got Julius Maddox, the world's the GOAT, right? Yeah. The living GOAT, the living legend right now.
Still going.
And then you got Larry Wills. Larry Wills is from Planet Krypton.
Yeah, he does something new all the time.
Yeah, he's from Planet Krypton. So CT saying that was his last video, training wise, like he don't want doing the hardcore stuff. So we're having a conversation. I said, CT, man, how do we move on from this? Because me and you had a conversation. Me and CT got a video from two and a half years ago when we first met, and we literally were talking about what we're doing now on accident. Because I was telling him, I just want to get this industry and help people. Like this athletic stuff, that's the smallest portion of our life, right? Being a bench presser, athlete, whatever you want to be, football player, whatever, that is the smallest portion of our life that we will ever have. It can identify us for years and years to come, but what do we do after that? Because everybody can't relate to an 800-pound bench press. I can't. In fact, I've never even seen it on the bar before. In fact, I don't want to spot. I don't want to take it off. I just want to watch him lift it. So I have no relation to anything over 500 pounds, right? Yeah. But what I can relate to with Julius is his struggles and where he came from to become that. What I can relate with TD is his struggle. What I can relate to CT, vice versa. So now what do we do? Our partner, Don Singleton, said, hey, let's do a nonprofit. What do we call it?
Yeah.
Sons of a Beast. Empowerment Project. Oh, what are we going to talk about? And that's how it came about. So we're geared towards men's mental health. When you look at the suicide rates of men, we talking about 43,000 guys, men, kill themselves a year. 43. It's so scary to think about that because when I was growing up, and I'm not sure about you, but I didn't know anybody who committed suicide. Now we're talking grown men. And one of the reasons is because how masculine everybody is. Oh, you better not cry. You better not tell your feelings. You better not do this. And knowing me, man, I've been almost murdered. I had a buddy of mine the year before I got stabbed. Scott Marshall died in my arms from being stabbed 4 times. I've seen murders as young as when I was 11 years old. So I have bottled a lot of that in. I became an extremely violent person. I almost lost my freedom due to a fight in 2008 as an active mixed martial arts competitor, not being able to home in my energy and my own struggles and trauma. So I think that everything that's loud or everything that's aggressive has to end a certain way. that also, even though I had a great run, also hindered my MMA career because mentally I just didn't have it.
It took something
So
away.
then when I started to realize it took a lot away from me.
Yeah.
And I tell people this all the time, which is a lot. You're getting a good podcast here because I haven't told this yet. This coming, this, you know, we're doing a documentary.
It's exclusive.
We're doing a documentary, so this is good. This is good. So people didn't know that the struggle I had sitting in that back room, waiting to come out to fight. And like I said, I was 16-2 and one draw. And that's, you know, and let me, for everybody who's going to watch, because, you know, I'm going to get like 5 viewers because I'm not the most popular guy yet. So for everybody, all my 6 people who will watch this, I fought at a time. I had to add the one. I fought at a time where MMA was trying to ban it. John McCain was trying to ban it, right?
I remember
back in 04, or I'm sorry.
Yeah, 05, it was controversial.
Right. So it was very controversial. So we were just getting fight. I didn't fight the top 10. I fought good guys around the 2006, 2009 years. But back then, man, we were just fighting, man. We loved it. What I started to notice was a few times if I'm not ending the fight, I was losing control. Like, for example, everything was a permanent fix to me. If I'm in a physical altercation, if I let him get up, he might come back and shoot me. He might hurt somebody in my family. And it's so crazy when you think about how people talk about fighting. People have no idea the mental strain it puts on people, especially people who already struggle. You know, I know PTSD is a lot in the military, which is very sad. But I think PTSD is everywhere.
Sure.
And
it's trauma, and trauma's everywhere. Yeah.
Trauma's everywhere. So it's scary to think that, you know, people don't hone into it. I did.
Yeah.
I did. And it was with the help of my mother. And, you know,
I mean,
because if it wasn't for that, I don't know.
I'm a veteran.
You know? So,
and, you know, I'll say right out of the gate that I never saw combat. But, I mean, I deployed many times. And, but when it comes to trauma, anything that I've struggled with in my life actually didn't come much from the military. It's from earlier in life. So, yeah, I agree with you that it's not always military. And, I mean, God bless the military veterans that, you know, are struggling, and I hope they find what they need. But there's also other people. And I think
think about what you did.
Talking.
So even if you didn't see combat, right? You left home. So you left home with no guarantee of return.
Yeah, exactly.
And that mentally is like, damn.
Yeah, someone at work the other day was asking me about like a will, like, how, you already got a will? You're so young. I was like, I made a will like 7 times. Like every time I left town, I made a will because I didn't know what was happening.
That's what I'm saying.
So yeah, absolutely.
There's no guarantee you coming home like that, man.
So it's really, you know.
And once you start delving into it, people start realizing, and I started understanding it more.
Sure.
You know.
And I mean, I think the biggest thing from Sons of Beast that you're talking about that I think is really healthy for anyone, whether they're into strength pursuits or into strength sports or anything, just watching it as a man, is just to see other men talking about these things, you know, because it's anything like that's the basis of therapy. And, you know, seeing a therapist is just to talk. So just seeing other people talking about their struggles, talking about, you know, the effect certain things in life had on them, that's a healthy thing. That's a good thing. So yeah,
and when you see guys who people look at like you know, Superman for time, right? After CT had his heart attack, he was more vulnerable speaking.
Sure.
You know, Julius, a lot of stuff that people don't know about Julius, and TD as well. I'm more so open about mine. And our partner, Don Singleton, is very, very much so getting into that space of being open about the things that he went through. So we did a panel at the LA Fit Expo, all of us and Larry Wheels, except for CT. CT wasn't available to do it at that time. But, man, when we looked over, and it was so crowded over there watching us speak, and nobody asked us about one weight.
Yeah.
And to have grown men tear up and tell us thank you. You know, I posted, I was like, man, I don't know if I've ever been a part of something so powerful.
It's a good thing.
You know, I don't know if I've ever felt that. than what we felt at LA Fit
I
Expo.
hope you can keep it going. It's a good thing.
Yeah.
So, and I think it's, it's just on a very surface level. Like, let's say, like my mom always listens to my podcast. She has no idea who these people are that I have on my podcast. So if it's someone, in that same respect that has no clue who you are, just on a judge a book by its cover, you're a big muscular dude. These
Yeah.
are humongous, muscular kind of guys standing up there talking about this stuff. I think it breaks down some walls that people might have up in their head. Maybe inspires them to talk about it.
It's unhealthy to be. Damn, I know I'm probably gonna get some slack for this, but listen. Let me just say this: I'm so comfortable, and this is what I tell people all the time. I don't want to be perceived as a tough guy ever. And at the end of the day, these are the things that I do know. I'm a part of the 1%. It is less than so many black belts in this industry, in this world. I'm very comfortable on what I can do physically. So I'm going to say that to say this. As a person who has not only before martial arts, have done some pretty gnarly things in the street, was unfortunately very well respected in the street life for being a violent idiot, was transferred into being a respectable martial artist. It is okay not to be tough.
Yeah.
And when I say that, it's because what true violence is, in my opinion, when somebody is truly violent, they're numb to violence. Doing something physically to somebody, they're numb. And if you are numb to that, then you are a danger to yourself and others.
Yeah.
I was that for years. And now I am so afraid to get worked up emotionally because, like I tell people, being physically violent isn't the scary part. It's that emotion that makes me very, very dangerous. So that's why I always have to stay and understand that, man, I ain't got to be tough to live my life at all. I don't care. I can go on by my business, have a good time, laugh, somebody get mad at me, whatever, right? Because emotionally is where a lot of us are dangerous because that's the part you can't control. I can physically restrain myself if my emotions is tight. I can physically restrain myself from doing something hurtful to somebody. But if I do not have control of my emotions, I can't control myself physically.
Yeah.
And that is the dangerous part. And I try to explain this to people. You don't have to be tough. Trust me, because when you do run into that person, and they always say this, that does not care about violence, that's numb to it, your tough is not
Doesn't
theirs.
matter. Yeah.
It's not theirs. And we don't know what people struggle with. The toughest person in the world is the person that can control their emotions.
Emotional.
We can actually physically control emotional restraint.
The regulation. Yeah. Being able to regulate your emotions, being able to control yourself. Oof. That's it takes a long time. I've heard it a million.
Yes,
I've heard it on
does.
Joe Rogan. I've heard it on different places a million different times that men don't fully mature until they're 25. Sometimes even past that. So yeah, I mean, trying to grow up mentally.
I didn't hit 25. Yeah. I was a little in the 30s,
exactly.
but yeah,
exactly. It could be after
31,
that.
32.
Yeah, it could be after that. Maybe something stunted that. So when it comes to the jiu-jitsu and becoming a black belt, when did that become a goal? When did that enter your mind that like this is something I'm going to do?
It wasn't really. It was. So I never had ego when it come to athletics. I was a really good athlete. I just didn't apply myself with the schoolwork. I was a very good athlete, football player, basketball player, and track wrestler, of course, wrestling, but whatever. I just didn't apply myself in school. So I was a smaller dude growing up, but I would always want to guard the tallest dude on the court playing basketball, or the best dude on the court, or in football, I would try to tackle whoever. That's just who I was. Wrestle. I want to wrestle the best guy. So that transferred into me growing up. I just didn't have an ego because I took too many butt whoopings growing up. When like people, you remember you ran into the tough guys, they're like, oh man, I've won 50 street fights and never lost. I was kind of opposite. Yeah. I was the guy who would fight the guys. They're like, hey man, chill out, man. Why you fighting him? Yeah. So I didn't really have a good street record until I got older. You know what I'm saying? I used to get my butt kicked growing up, but I wasn't afraid of the butt whooping. So that's also what played into my immaturity because I wasn't afraid to get beat up. So when I got to jujitsu and we were, working on wrestling first. That's
Mm,
originally why they wanted me to train
okay.
with them. And I said, who this little dude got all this cauliflower ear, man? What's up? So he said, yeah, let's do jujitsu. All right, whatever that is. And when I got tapped probably 6 times in 5 minutes, I said, hey, man, where do I sign up? Because normally that make or break you.
Yeah,
Not
yeah.
me. I said, no, 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 no. I want to learn this. And if there's people out here that can do this, I need to know it. And I never thought about a belt. I just competed.
Yeah.
I just
Okay.
competed. I wanted to train. I did have, back then, it wasn't many upper belts. So I think the highest belt was obviously a black belt
Hmm.
instructor. Lasalo Ribeiro and his brother was here, Sanji Ribeiro. But I didn't train. I trained with guys that trained with them. They was moving to San Diego. So the guy was a purple belt, and both was purple
Mm.
belts. So that was like a big belt back in because it go white, blue, purple, brown, black, essentially to get the black. If you're consistent, right? I wanted to train with everybody with a color on their belt.
Okay.
When I got my blue, I want to train with all the
Nice.
purple belts and the brown
You
belts,
wanted the whole
black
the
belt.
whole spectrum. Yeah.
I did not want to train with guys my level. And a lot of that was because a lot of guys, and this was just my, ego for this portion, my wrestling was so good that I didn't really want to train with guys who didn't know how to
Mm.
wrestle because I could go over on them with that
Yeah.
alone, with that pressure, with that control. So I always wanted my ass
Yeah.
whooped.
It's the
Excuse me.
same.
So
Yeah.
because I want to take away the athletic
Sure.
superiority, right, in my mind. I want to be able to learn and think. And when it got to that
Hmm.
point to where I literally became that much of a student of the game, I was sold.
That makes sense to me.
And that's how I got better. Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, it makes sense as far as what you said about, uh, just your earlier life and wanting to take on kind of these notorious fighters. But then fast forward, you're kind
Yeah.
of doing the same thing. You're wanting to take on the guys that have the
Yeah.
the belts ahead of yours. So then the
Yep.
other thing that I can't help but notice is there seems to be a lot of people in your uh, in your inner circle, if you will, that like martial arts. I mean, CT was into martial arts, Flex Wheeler's martial arts. I mean,
Yeah.
a lot of people we've named on this show so far is martial arts is a something in their life. So I don't know what it is, but it seems like all you guys you're into martial arts.
That was and that's crazy because that's just how that
Yeah,
worked out. Because I didn't know, until the internet, I didn't know Flex Wheeler was a black belt.
yeah,
And when they did
and
those
it's
arts, those were
I forget the name. Kempo,
those
is that how you
were
say it? I forget the exact name of what
yeah.
he's. Yeah,
You that wasn't point karate. That was pretty
yeah,
harsh.
yeah.
That was pretty harsh. I try to tell people there was a difference when those guys was competing versus now. I'm telling you now, it's a video of Flex Wheeler, man, doing a spinning heel kick, knocked the dude clear off
I
the
can't
mat.
imagine.
I said, oh my
Yeah.
God. At about 200 pounds. I'm like,
Oh, I
Jesus.
can't imagine. That's kind of
Yeah,
like seeing
man.
Ronnie Coleman in his police uniform. Like I can't imagine like that's the police officer that pulls up.
Oh man.
Goodness gracious.
Hey man. Just take me, man. I don't know what I did. Just go and put the
Yeah,
cuffs on.
exactly.
Because I'm definitely not about to make you
Yeah.
chase me and piss you off.
So then you said it earlier. It's only been 2 years on like social media and stuff, and it hasn't been too long. You're 3-time Iron Wars champ, Rep King.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
what sent you in that direction? What sent you into from jujitsu and getting more involved with the weights again? Like, all right, I'm gonna pursue this.
Well, it was the NFL
Okay,
Combine. Growing up, obviously my favorite. I'm a Browns fan, huge Browns
I'm
fan.
sorry to hear that.
But Barry Sanders is. You're right. Right.
PGH
Right.
for Pittsburgh.
Yo, yeah, of
I'll
course.
tell you this much:
Barry,
I don't have high hopes for my Steelers right now, so it's all right.
hey, everybody go through their cycles. We still gonna have the toughest
Yeah.
division though.
Oh,
I believe we still go if they get the Justin Fields trade, I think it's gonna be
yeah.
crazy. But we Barry Sanders,
Ooh,
man. Oh man, I used to watch his videos,
yeah.
tapes, VHS. And then when they start getting into what was his name, man? I can't remember who it was. He played for the Browns. I'm sorry, the Cowboys, and he on like the Pro Ball back in the day
Okay.
when the Pro Ball was super
Yeah.
cool. They did all the cool events on NBC, right? He bench pressed 225. I can't remember how many times he did it. It was a
Okay.
cowboy. I can't remember who it was. And I probably was 16 maybe back
Well,
then, 15, 17 maybe.
what I learned today, because my 10-year-old son was like, "Well, how many times has?" Because I was describing you, I was like, "Oh, this is the rep king. He can do like his personal best is 81 reps with the 225. Is that correct? Is that still what we're at here?
Yep,
81 reps. My
yep,
goodness."
yep.
And he's like, "Well, how many can they do in the combine?" So I looked it up. In 2011, Stephen Paya, he did 49 reps, and that's the official NFL record because he went on to play for 7 years. Now, there's like a little kind of like controversy, a little bit that, or I guess a little asterisk next to another guy's name. In 1999, this guy, Ernest was his last name. I forget his first name. He did
Yeah,
51 reps, but he didn't get drafted. He never
yeah,
played in the NFL. So that's
right.
why.
He was a guy from Utah or BYU. I can't
Yeah, so
remember.
he actually did more by 2 reps, but since he didn't play, the NFL considers Stephen Paya to be the rep king of the NFL, if you will. But I mean, 49 reps compared to 81, that's. But to put in perspective, though, as I scan through like the top 10 combine every year for the past like 4 or 5 years,
Yeah,
it's usually between like 15 and 20 reps. So 49
yeah.
blew the rest out of the water. That was like a crazy record that's still standing, 13 years later.
So, but you know what it is if these guys, first of all, and trust me, I would love to sound cooler than I am, right? When it comes
Yeah.
to that, if these guys, okay, let's talk. I'm gonna give you guys credit. Let's talk about C.J.
Oh
Watt.
man. Yeah, yeah.
If C.J. Watt
TJ.
trained
TJ Watt.
for
Yeah.
that, sorry,
Yeah.
T.J. If he trained for that, that dude would be up in the
Oh,
set. Any of these
yeah.
elite guys that's freaks like that, Joey
Cam
Bosa,
Hayward.
Nick
Yeah.
Bosa, all these dudes, man, they would throw that out the
Yeah.
window. So at the end of the day, they don't train
No.
for it. So it is amazing to still see 49 reps,
Sure.
right? Um, Also, too, it's NFL is clearly more functional strength. So I want everybody to get the difference between what I do. I don't have to do what they do. I don't want to go in the third down
Yeah.
package. I don't even want to do
Yeah.
victory. So and I definitely can't do none of their field events, and I'm not running a 40.
Yeah.
So these guys are superior athletes. They just don't train at 225. That's the only reason. If they
Mm-hmm.
did, these dudes would be hitting. They would kill it. Now, I've always called flag because people who don't see me in person don't realize that I'm wide as I am tall, right? So back in the day, probably about 10, 15 years ago, I hurt my shoulder doing 220. I'm sorry,
Mm.
315, where I was benching closer, and I was trying to struggle the last few reps of it, hurt my shoulder, so I have to go
Okay.
wider. I did a video and showed people, even when my grip is wider, which is I always make sure my stuff is legal for
Okay.
powerlifting. And I always make sure I still keep a standard even though I don't compete. And I try to explain to people that I did a video showing that even when my arms are closer, it's literally a fingernail length of where my arms is wider. That's just the way I'm
Yeah.
built. And what people don't know is my wide grip keeps so much tension. That 81 reps, man, that is excruciating. It's constant tension. Boom, boom, boom,
Yeah.
boom. And when me and Matt Winning got
Mm-hmm.
together and he helped me tailor a workout, I'm sorry, I don't want to say workout. He helped me tailor a training method
Okay.
to add. So when we seen you guys in French Lake,
Yeah.
this is how crazy this was. I did 74 that
Yeah.
day.
Home Gym Con with the
And he said,
bridge built plates, those
yeah,
brand new
at Gym
shiny
Time,
plates. I mean, it was it was a
brand
spectacle.
new
It was
shiny place.
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Matt was like, hey, man, record it and I want to see
Mhm.
it. So I played it back. He said, look at this. This is where we messing up. I said, where? He said, well, you're doing 74 and 77
Mhm.
reps in a minute and 15 seconds. We got to chop that down.
Mm.
I said, what do you mean? We got to start doing something called time reps, right? So he had me doing time reps with tricep pushdowns for a minute, lat raises or front raises for the front delts for a minute on the cables. And man, it was tough. Oh my God. 3 weeks later, I did 81 with CT and Valparaiso, 81 reps in 59 seconds.
Look at that.
Matt Winning, first of all, Matt Winning, I like to spell it with an I. Matt Winning is one of the most intelligent human beings. I don't care if it's lifting, recovery. Matt Winning is one of the most intelligent human beings. And when I tell you, when we talk, I don't say nothing. I think he think I be asleep on the phone. I don't say nothing. Nothing. Because that dude is so intelligent, man. And when you have the privilege to be friends and be able to have these conversations with these guys, it's like I don't never want to be the smartest guy in the room.
No, he knows his strength history too.
And in 3 weeks, yeah, man,
he knows it.
In 3 weeks,
that was it.
3 weeks, boom, that was it. Julius told me, hey, you need to start adding bands. It's gonna help you snap on your heavier weights. Man, I was a prehistoric dude. I never used bands. I need you to use bands. Matt Winning introduced me to him. I loved it, but I didn't do it because he wasn't on me about it. Julius, nope, gotta do it. TD, hey, I need you to start doing this. I listen to these guys. These guys are the top tier guys. I don't talk to them about. I don't have anything to say or debate anything. Yeah. So that's how I start getting that. My routine. I was always trained to exhaustion anyway because I'm an endurance guy from fighting and jiu-jitsu and stuff like that. I just implicated that into the workouts. So when I did that and then took the information from them, I don't know, because I got a torn tricep, a flight tear, got the cortisone shot, but we have an event this weekend in Detroit. That 81 might be eclipsed by at least 4 reps. I think. So
you got that on the mind. Hey, if you can,
I think we're gonna get the.
If you can see it, you can believe it. You can make it happen. Yeah. So I hope you can make it happen. But it's, as I listen to you talk about these different moments in your life, I'm still seeing the same thing that you, even if it's not fighting, when it comes to strength and strength training, you're looking to the more experienced. You're looking to the guys that are a step ahead or maybe been around longer than you, that kind of thing. So it seems like if I'm taking one thing away from this, from you, Midwest Kong, I'm taking that away, that I need to look to the people, one step ahead of me. It's a good lesson to learn. And at Home Gym Con, I had the privilege to sit down with Matt Wenning, and easy interview. So it was like, hey, what do you know about this? And boom, half an hour later, he just taught me everything I ever wanted to know about it. I mean, he is such an intelligent guy when it comes to the technique and the history. I mean, he broke down everything.
I mean, with the legendary stable.
The
West Side Barbell,
but he went.
It don't get no better.
He went all the way back to Soviet Union, though. I mean, he was talking about the Soviet lifters, and I mean, it was a cool episode. I learned a lot. I don't know if Matt will be back at Home Gym Con this year. Any idea if you'll make the drive from Columbus, make it out there to French Lick again?
I'm actually closer. I'm 2 hours from Columbus.
There you go.
So
nice.
I'm 2 hours from you. Well, no, actually it's the same distance, because when we left French Lick, we went to Matt Winning's, and I went and trained with him that day. So I don't know, man. It's so much going on with this nonprofit, which, by the way, the documentary is being shot by Generation Iron, so that's huge.
That's great.
Oh yeah, that's huge. That's huge.
They do good stuff.
Also, while we on here, if any companies looking to sponsor, be a part, they are making the first global. This is global documentary. So you can definitely contact us at sonsofabuse.org. But so this is pretty big. This portion of the documentary is about me at the Arnold. They're gonna follow me because obviously it's in Ohio. But so it just depends on what we got, man. We got starting to get phone calls coming in. But I liked the event. I thought it was great. So hopefully I'll be able to show back up.
I mean, planning wise, it'd be kind of short notice right now. We're in February. It's only 2 months away. But I don't think Home Gym Con's going anywhere soon. I mean, it more than doubled in size from last year in terms of the vendors that are coming out and ticket sales. So
I
even
see
if
that.
it's
Yeah.
next year, I think it'd be great to get like a Sons of Beast type event or seminar,
Yeah.
lecture, something going. So
Oh,
that'd
for
be really
sure.
cool to get
Yeah.
that out there and raise some awareness, raise some funds for Sons of Beast, and
Yeah.
that'd be a cool thing to do in the future. So we'll have to I'll have to loop
Absolutely.
back and contact you about that down the road. And of course, last
Absolutely.
weekend in April, listeners. So don't want to miss it. And Brandon, by all means, if you can swing it, let me know, and I'll make sure that everything's in place for you out there in good old French Lick, home of Larry Bird. Home of
Over
Larry
Larry
Bird.
Bird.
So hey, I'll drop the information again about Jungle Wars before I sign off and everything, because I'll do a little closing. But is there anything else that listeners should know as far as Midwest Kong? Obviously, find you on Instagram. Anything else going on?
Yes. Yes, man. Just find me on Instagram. I'm doing good business now. I'm starting to learn the process of this, how this works. I'm no longer shadow banned. Well, I'm working out of a
There you
shadow
go.
ban of Instagram. Yeah, I had no idea I was shadow banned. I had no
Oh,
idea. I had for a year. They was almost going to
oh
take
my
my
goodness.
account. Um, yeah, I was getting some good
I'm
views.
sorry
I
to
was getting
laugh, but
like
it's just
300,000 views.
it's
Oh
just a
my God.
situation. Okay.
Emoji, right? They said it was a hate symbol. I had no idea how to
Oh
check none
no.
of this stuff. So now
Okay.
we're
Well,
good.
that's good. That's
But
good. All right.
yeah. So now they're letting me climb a little bit now. But follow me on Instagram. I'm trying to I do all of our content. So I do all the
Yeah.
editing. So I'm trying to keep up with my stuff. I'm posting on TikTok. I'm posting on
Nice.
Facebook. I'm not very good at none of it. But
Yeah.
Instagram, my YouTube is being a little bit more
Great.
active. So again, I came into the industry backwards, but I love the
Hey, yeah.
process I'm taking because I'm making the networking business and then I'm getting my brand out now. So you can follow me on social media platforms. Again, Sons of a Beast,
Mm-hmm.
Empowerment Project, sonsofthebeast.org. Any companies want to be involved in the Generation Iron shooting it. They're shooting us until October. It is a great cause. I mean, we got a bunch of good things coming up. And yeah, man, Jungle Wars 3, Legends Night,
Yeah.
Michael Hearn, 95% sure Ronnie
Whew.
Coleman.
Ronnie Coleman will be
Uh,
there, man.
yeah, 95% sure. Julius Mattis,
Yeah.
obviously. There's a couple guys I didn't announce, but we're going to be there, man. It's at Pros Gym. Shout out
Yeah.
to Pros Gym, one of my sponsors. Shout out to Grip Performance, one of my sponsors. So that's,
I'll
yeah.
drop one little nugget of history there that Ronnie Coleman said that Flex Wheeler was the greatest competitor he ever competed against. So to have those two gentlemen in one
Yeah,
location, oh
I
man,
know.
that would be
That's going to be pretty
amazing.
cool.
That would be
95% sure.
amazing.
So, Ronnie, I know you're
Yeah.
making me work. I know you're making me work. But, hopefully I'm doing a good
Well,
job.
hey, we're a short week and a half away from March 1st. So, yeah, if anyone's going out to the Arnold, head to Pros Gym, 7 o'clock, March 1st,
Yes,
Friday
sir.
night. And it looks like it'll be more than a liftoff. It'll be
Oh,
a party. It'll be a good time. So, yeah.
it's going to be a great
All
time.
right.
Yes,
Well, hey,
sir.
thank you so much. I appreciate you coming on.
I appreciate you having